Hey, loves. I'm so excited about today's episode of the Finally Be podcast, the space that gives you permission to live from your wholeness, choose your true you, while creating the life you really want. So, you know that I am an intuitive coach, and some of my clients, when I work with them, we come from this place of knowing what inspired action is and the understanding of how it feels to live from your wholeness. Well, the question comes up sometimes is purpose. And today's audacious guest, I'm so happy that he is here, who schooled me and coined the term here on the Finally Be podcast of effortless joy, is none other than Cory Brazier. You don't want to miss this conversation of inspiration, connection, and allowing that energy of creativity that gives you the momentum to live life in action. Check this out. Cory Brazier has devoted himself to volunteering and community service, keeping his awareness on the pulse of his community. Cory is the co-director of Gentlemen and Scholars, Inc., a non-for-profit co-ed mentorship organization based out of South Bend, Indiana. Cory is the co-owner of BrazierFit Boxing, a fitness company that has formed by modeling the techniques and fitness regimen of his father, former number one ranked boxer Harold Brazier. Cory opened himself to the awareness of understanding the importance of self-education, from looking at how the body and mind functions at its best, to elevating his spiritual life by applying the principles he's learned and embodied. And fostering his own passions led him to devoting his time motivating children and adults through mentoring, coaching, speaking, performing, and teaching about health and holistic well-being. Cory's passions are along the lines of strong family bonds, holistic health and wellness, financial empowerment, and the finding of one's effortless purpose. Hey, Cory, I appreciate you being here today. Your bio is amazing. You're like, everything that you're doing right now is just mind blowing to me. I just want you to know the reason that you're on today on this podcast is because not just what you do, but the human being that you are and all the ways that you touch different people. And you've been my brother.
Yeah.
And for me, it's amazing just to see somebody I know doing these types of things and connecting to everybody, and I think that you're an amazing person. So that was one of the main reasons I wanted to have you on this show. So I appreciate you being here.
Hey, I appreciate the invite, sis. I've done a few things here lately, but it's always good to sit back and reflect, especially with somebody somebody you love, and so I appreciate the invite. We just talk.
Yeah.
Appreciate the invite and just talking about some things and, see if we can help anybody along the way. So I appreciate it.
Right on. Well, everybody might know a little bit about you and everything. I know a little bit about you,
Yeah.
But I want to know, just tell me from your point of view, how you grew up, what got you to where you are, as the person that you are, what was your origin story?
Well, I'm gonna make it short and sweet. For most people in the area, even throughout our community, and for the ones who have looked into our community, or even our last name Brazier, our last name Brazier is synonymous with boxing. Mm-hmm. So, I was raised by a boxer, a professional boxer, Harold Brazier, and just that privilege to have that type of childhood is unmatched. Unlike most people, we were raised in a 2-parent home, a loving family, very spiritual, very down to earth. We did all types of things. We was very taken care of. So off that, the morals and the love and different things that most people lack in a family environment. We had an overwhelming amount of, so just by having that amount of love in my family, that set me on the right path, and just like anybody else, growing up, had to try to find my way. So, I dabbled into this, dabbled into that. I thought I wanted to be a boxer, and I did, but you know how things are. You know, my parents, my father, he thought otherwise, so he thought I should choose another path because he didn't want me to get hurt. So I chose music. Music was a passion of mine because it gave me an opportunity to express myself on various levels. I know one thing that I was really into growing up was the ability to be artistic, in some way or some fashion. So I always was into drawing or into, spoken word or poetry, anything of that nature. I wanted to be able to just show my artistic side. So I got into music with a couple friends of mine while I was in high school, and I stuck with music for a long time. It gave me a wide range of experiences. We did some traveling and all different types of things. So music made me comfortable with expressing myself in front of large numbers of people, and as I got through life, I found myself not necessarily being pulled by music, by just being pulled by other passions. The music path led me to a path of business, and the business path led me to a path of health and nutrition. Health and nutrition led me to a path of motivating people, motivating others, and helping them to see the best versions of themselves. And that led me to a path of mentoring. So here I am, in South Bend, Indiana, known as one of the faces of mentorship, one of the faces of health and nutrition, one of the faces of boxing. Cause, as of now, me and my dad have an opportunity to teach, fitness classes together. So from start to finish, from a childhood being raised by a 2-parent home, loving, in a great environment, to all the way to now understanding how to love myself. Finally, through all the ups and downs in life, I'm finally here to try to, maybe encourage somebody, along their journey of getting to know themselves. So long story short, that's a quick origin of how I got to here where I am now.
I like how you said being comfortable with expressing yourself. On this journey, it's really difficult for a lot of us to recognize that we're an expression. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot inside of us that needs to come out, that needs to be shown, our light to be bright, you know what I mean? And it's a lot of times we shut ourselves down, we silence ourselves because of all the different types of situations, events, our perception of different things, how we feel about ourselves. So for you, what was that moment that helped you to see that not just to be comfortable, but to actually invite other people into who you are? What was that for you?
That moment, what had to be when I was in church. Okay, believe it or not, I had a reputation of being a gospel rapper. Okay, gospel rapper. But at the same time, I had a reputation of being in the church and being quiet. But when I had an opportunity to get up on stage and I saw that everyone was looking to me to encourage them, even through music, the sound of music, the words that came from my heart, they were looking and waiting for me to say something to brighten their day. And what I had to say was rehearsed, but at the same time, it was from the heart, something that I put on a piece of paper, and now I had a chance to put it into the atmosphere. So as I sat on stage and I looked at everybody, I looked around, I realized that at one point I was nervous, but then the nervousness left.
Mm.
Okay. And now I'm on stage with a audience of eyes looking at me, waiting for me to say something. And then I actually became comfortable with delivering a message. So it wasn't about a rap song. It was about the message before the rap song.
Yeah.
Okay. It was about the message that the song told the story. It was about the message about the story that was getting ready to be told. I was more comfortable with the delivering of the whole of the content that the people needed in order to reach another level in their life. So just sitting there, I remember those moments. Those moments was roughly about 10 years ago. There were several moments like that to where I'm like, man, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to motivate, whether it be by music or by just a nice little, dialect between me and the crowd in order for them to even talk back to me. We could talk about anything. So now I find myself, whether it be one-on-one or one to 100, I could talk about anything that is important to myself or to them. I could probably get them to open up to me even while I'm on stage, so just by my life experiences. So I would say that moment was probably, in the choir at church where everybody was looking at me to say, hey, what you got, so I said, here I go. It's probably that moment. Yep.
Here I go. I like that. I might start using that.
Yeah.
So you had this message, right? You had this message that basically developed in the midst of everybody.
Yeah.
But it sounds like it was already there. It was already something that was inside of you. It was already something that you knew needed to get out because it was already written down.
Yes.
So where do you think this message came from? I mean, what was it that you've been through your experience that made you write those words in the first place? Where did it come from?
I think the message came from my inability to have a solid identity to in the moment, because you're looking around and all of these messages and are being delivered to you.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a lot of propaganda and they say, hey, you know what? You should be this, you should be that. And you're looking around and you say, well, I want to be this, I want to be that. I think the message came from me finally having the ability, I should say not inability, but having the ability to recognize who I am and who I want to be. Understanding who I am. They said there's a lot of cliches that you hear, but it's from the ancient times where they basically say, know thyself. Once you understand who you are, you'll feel comfortable with sharing that. You usually don't feel comfortable with sharing anything when you don't know anything about yourself. So once you find out a little bit about yourself, and yourself is ever changing. So you don't have to know yourself and just be there. You know a little bit about yourself to know that, hey, this is a good starting place. This is where I want to be. This is who I am now in the moment. And the word that's being used here recently is unapologetically. So, you know who you are, proud of who you are in that moment. Maybe you may be perfected or on your way to perfection. That's neither here or there, but you have an opportunity to push that message out with confidence. So knowing yourself and knowing that you're confident in the moment of who you are in that identity. So most people have identity crisis all the time because they're finding out who they are. They say identity crisis, but it's every day. Who you want to be every day. You know what I'm saying? So it becomes part of our life. But I find that it's easier to express yourself to the fullest when between the identity crisis, you find out who you are in that moment. Now you're confident and you can share that. So my message can be a health message. My message can be a message of self-love. My message can be a message of encouragement. My message could be a message of reflection. My message could be a message of forgiveness. My message can be a message of just truly, I don't know. I don't know it all, and it's okay to not be okay. These are certain messages that I have to express. It just depends on who I am in that moment. And if I'm confident enough to express who I am in that moment. So I think, just in the moment, being confident of who you are and your identity.
I love that because with my program that I'm doing, it's called Finally Be. What it's based on is the ever changing human that we are. We're extraordinary within ourselves just by being us. And a lot of times, a lot of people are not comfortable with who they are because all the changes. They think they have to be a certain way because of society, because of expectations, because of mindsets that's been set up, and we agreed to them, but it's been set up because we think it has to be a certain way. And so you call it identity crisis. I call it a disruption. We start questioning those things that we know is not us, and it's really about revealing who we really are. And every little piece of our life kind of helps open up that door for us to see who we are in that moment. I love that, who we are in that moment. And in that moment is the only thing that we have. We have just right now. And once you understand that who you are right now and you appreciate that, you can be open to anything because we have infinite possibilities in ourselves. At every single moment, we can do anything we want to. We can be anything because we just are. The I am that's God is the I am that's us,
Yes, that's right.
So when you think about how people tend to avoid their life by, being overly busy, by trying to basically live somebody else's life, it's really about them being aware that they can disrupt their life and still be okay with it. You don't have to be in that place of not understanding. It's about the more aware you are, the more clarity you get, and that's where that, hey, I can express myself regardless of what it is, because I'm clear, I can see a little bit further. I can see a little bit more about who I am. And I love that. I love how you shared that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, true enough.
Mm-hmm. So how do you get to that place of you got these messages, got to that place of being comfortable with expressing yourself? How did you get to that place of being honest, to that honesty place of knowing that you weren't who you know you are? Because, in us, we know that we know that we know, but we also know that I'm not that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So what did you do to understand the who that you are? How did you start becoming honest about that? What did you do, or what did you experience?
Well, I would say, what am I doing?
What are you doing?
Okay.
All
What
right.
am I still, what am I still doing? To be able to express yourself, to the fullest, the first person you have to be honest with is yourself.
Right on.
So, like in sales, they always say, the most important sale you ever make is to yourself. So once you're able to do that, you can represent any product, any message, any opportunity, any story, you know. So this it's going to take, if I was giving somebody some advice and they wanted to know how to feel comfortable in their own skin or in their own message, I would say the journey that I took was a journey of ups and downs, you know, of doubting yourself. You know, you got to go through it. You know, some people maybe not necessarily so, but I went through doubting myself, trying to figure out what purpose I was here to fulfill. In the language that we talk in, we use the term superpowers. Okay. Trying to figure out what your superpower is, what your gift is, to where you can just be you and people will compensate you for being you. Okay. All day long, you know, you get paid to be yourself. And instead of chasing a compensation, you're chasing the perfection of your purpose. You're going to have to go through a time to where it's a trial and error. You're going to have to experience. You're going to have to try. You're going to have to talk. You're going to have to not talk. You're going to have to listen. You know, you probably learn more about yourself by not expressing yourself all at once. You probably learn more about yourself about how much you can listen and realize that you probably don't know it all. You know, you probably learn more about yourself as you listen to other people talk about themselves. You know, you probably learn more about yourself from the people who might not necessarily think that highly of you. You know, what they got to say about you when you're not around. You know, you might learn something about yourself, about people, what they say that speak highly of you. The reason I say that is because you're not really putting on a performance, but sometimes most times people tend to act out subconsciously what's in them. You know, they say things they don't know they even say, because that's really who they are. And then they actually try to put on a performance when everybody else around. But if they're just in their natural, and then they be like, man, I said this or said that. You know, people can say, well, he has a tendency of doing this. I have a tendency of laughing at this. I have a tendency of standing this way or on the wall, or, ostracizing yourself or being the life of the party. These are things you learn about yourself sometimes when other people talk about you. They're like, man, I didn't really even know I was like that. You know, and sometimes you learn about yourself sitting quietly with yourself and not saying anything. You know, most people can't stand to sit with themselves, with meditation, because they don't know what they will find out. Sometimes you learn about yourself, in moments of being hurt. You know, the things that hurt you most are the things that probably you find value in, or the things you cared about the most. You know, it's just experiences, speeding up, slowing down. You know, sometimes you learn about yourself when somebody tell you about yourself. You know, you might be in a disagreement with somebody and they be like, you know what? Boom. And then you sit back like, man, you got to reflect like, man, that is probably me. Not saying that's good or bad, but these are ways to learn about yourself. And then when you learn about yourself, I think most people want to make a positive impact. So you take the things that you know about yourself and be better.
I love that you life can introduce you and help you be more aware of the who that you are, and the fact that it creates a portfolio of evidence, you know what I'm saying? So you can filter it through whatever lens you're looking at, but when you change the way that you look at things, instead of looking at it from a perception type of point of view, you start looking at it as a perspective, the overview, the wider picture. So you're taking in all this information. That's what you're saying right now. Mm-hmm. Taking all this information and you see, hey, this has to be something that is coming out of me or it wouldn't be reflected back to me.
Yeah.
And so when that starts to happen, you can really understand and get to the root of why something is hurting you. You know what I'm saying? Or why something is influenced you in the way you are, why you're operating and behaving and speaking and thinking the way that you're doing. When you begin to, like you said, sit back and really take it all in and see it from a bigger picture instead of just this situation, I was doing this situation, I was doing that, this role, I do this role, I do that.
Yeah.
You take it all together and really look at it. You can release a lot of that stuff and really come into, okay, maybe I was doing that because of an expectation, or I got that belief because, hey, my family believes that way. You know what I'm saying? Now I can see, I can dissect that and let those things go so I can start operating that out of the person that I know I really am, and that's, I think, a lot of times where that identity crisis come in again, is that it's a conflict because I'm doing this, but I know this is not me. I'm agreeing to this, but I know this is not me. So when you get to that place of being honest with yourself and start saying, okay, I'm not going to do those things that are not me.
And that's usually how it is. And, most people, the way I see it is, when we come out the womb, we're being programmed.
Mm-hmm.
So we're taking on a persona. We're just accumulating, just like when we eat, we are what we eat, so that goes with everything. Mm-hmm. You consume. So everyone is consuming their personality all the time. You just take a little bit of this and take a little bit of that. And you might watch a movie and you be like, man, I want to be more like her or more like him. Or, you might see a cartoon and, you pull it from everything, something from the commercial that, and then sometimes they're telling you, say, man, you should be here, you should be there. So, then you get around to your friends and they say, oh, you shouldn't do this. You shouldn't act like this. And then you talk to your parents say, hey, why are you crying here? You shouldn't do this. You should do that. Or you're a man here. A woman doesn't do this. Or well, a man does this. So now they're forming your personality.
Right.
So before long, you're like, man, well, who am I really? Life can move pretty fast. Sometimes you got to slow down or you might miss it. That's what Ferris Bueller always says. You know what I'm saying? So,
So that sounds like it goes into the idea of the body that I remember you bringing up one time that, we're a reflection. Our body's kind of is a reflection of who we are spiritually. And it's like, that means that when you put a whole bunch of stuff inside of you with your body, you got to start eliminating it so that you can so you can function better. And a lot of times that with all those things that you were saying that people were taking in and we're taking in from birth, we're taking in these different mindsets and different ways of being. And it basically piles up. And so we have to learn to eliminate those things, right? To be able to start, shedding them and revealing who we really are underneath those masks that we put on.
Unfortunately, it's work to it.
Yeah.
It don't have to be hard work, but it is work because, to this day, I still listen. I mean, if a certain type of music come on, the song, or like a Tupac song or something like that, automatically resonates in my mind because it was in my subconscious. That message, that persona, it affects a lot of people. So whether it be music, whether it be TV, whether it be your parents, whether it be church, whether it be your friends at school, whether it be a sports coach, the ideas that they place in your head tend to sink into your subconscious pretty quick. So by the time you come of age and you're ready and you're at a state like, man, what is this all about? Who am I? Who I want to be? I know that's not me. My title is not me. I do this, I do that. So by the time you're ready to actually put in the work, it's a little work that has to be done to try to quiet a lot of the imprinting, a lot of the planting that's been put into your subconscious. So you have to plant other things. You have to quiet. Sometimes you have to spend enough quiet time to lower the volume of those things that want to speak from the depths of your soul to say, hey, no, you really are this. You're like, hold on, nah, that's just a message I got a long time ago. That ain't even me. Those aren't even my words, So there is work. Doesn't have to be hard work, but I think the work must begin, and it has to be consistent to try to figure out who you truly are and what impact you truly want to make. That speaks to your personality. So it's my opinion anyway.
So what labels or roles do you struggle with the most?
Label, I would say, a label of, and just me, a label of lack, a label of, the journey must be hard. The people that has to go through a hard journey in order to get what they deserve. Those things I like to try to shake out of my subconscious, any lacking imprinting, the imprinting of being a victim. I know that I'm have the power to be accountable and the power to create my life, and things that have been put down in me to be like, man, you know what? You're just a victim of the circumstance, a victim of your environment or your culture, or your time period. These labels, every day I put in a little work to shed within myself. The label, you have to do your own imprinting. You have to use different techniques. There's different techniques to help you shape the mind how you want the mind to be shaped. So there's techniques like visualization. Meditation is a great technique. Meditation quiets everything. So whatever you visualize, it'll help you focus more on that. Affirmations, speaking to yourself, hearing things about yourself that you want to be true and not necessarily other things that you think about yourself that are true.
You have to recognize the lies too.
Yes. Yeah. Recognize,
you gotta recognize the lies. You gotta know.
Amen to that.
You gotta know the difference, because sometimes we sit there and we speak these things so fully, and so, we're always saying these things to ourselves. We go from somebody else saying it to us saying it, because nobody's around us all day long but us,
Yeah.
and so these things that we think are truths, we have to, like you were saying earlier, you got to look at that and recognize that a lot of the stuff that we think is true is actually a lie, and we just keep telling ourselves, and it feels true because we've been telling ourselves that for so long. And so, yeah.
They say, how was it said? It said, for the ones who seek the truth, the ones who seek the truth and say they found the truth, okay, you know that they haven't found the truth.
Right.
Okay. So we're always seeking what's true, in the moment, because things can change. Things can change. So it's like, you got to have certain tools you can rely on in order to unlearn and reprogram yourself, because a lie can be true, if you tell it to yourself enough. So the things that you want to be true, you have to figure out ways, study the ways in order to reprogram your life. And that has everything to do with, health, love, what people call or deem success. All of them has truth to them, but how true are they in your life? Everybody has the same 24 hours. Everyone has the same access to the information that's out here about health, life, money, love, finances, all these different types of concepts. The same information is out there, but for some people it's true, and for other people not so much. So I think a label that I'm trying to shed every day is the fact that I don't have the power to change my reality. And I know I have the power to change my reality. I just got to do the simple work, but it has to be done consistently, so that's what I believe to be so.
So on that note, what life are you creating for yourself? What life are you creating for yourself and those that are around you?
The life that I'm creating for myself is a life of ease.
All right.
Okay. A life of effortless purpose. Life of freedom. Okay. A life of health. A life of love. A life of non-judgment. A life of abundance. I think that it's important that I create this so I could teach my kids how they can create the same type of life. So it's right now, it's about legacy. But if I don't figure it out, I can't expect them to.
So what does your unique expression mean to you?
My unique expression, what does it mean to me? Like, what is my unique expression? What do you mean by that?
I mean, what do you, how would you define that when you talk about being unique and expressing yourself and being who you really are? Because we're all different and we're all unique in how we present to the world, but we're also unique beings that have so many possibilities within us, So what would that mean to you when you think about being a unique expression? A lot of people say it a unique expression of God.
I think it has a lot to do with what comes, and I say a unique expression because when I think expression, I'm thinking action. I'm thinking, a projection, a personification of what you want to say being manifested to be reality. That's what I'm thinking, a unique expression, and it's unique to me.
Yeah.
I think that along the terms of the term we always use, superpower, gift, your effortless purpose, something that comes easy to you that you can share to the world, that's unique to you, that you're not ashamed of at all. And it's actually fun. Like, you would do it whether someone paid you or not. You would do it to uplift that same gift in others. So there's a unique expression from my part is conversations, uh, recently, over the last few years or so, whether I'm compensated or not, or whether life shows me compensation, my passion is to bring out the best in someone else, so I do that with my voice. I do that not just with my voice, but with my ears and with my eyes, listening, looking, reflecting, and then planting. That's my unique expression, to encourage, to build up, so whether I call myself, I don't call myself a motivational speaker or anything of that nature, but I think that's one of my superpowers, to be able to motivate and to encourage a self-love journey in the likes of whoever will be open to it. So that's my unique expression, but I could see others using a voice to sing, or using a unique expression to paint, or to draw, or to play a musical instrument. These are all unique expressions, but with me, using my voice to take whatever's in my heart and to deliver it to another heart, I think that's what I'm best at in these moments.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Well, Cory, I really, really appreciate you being on this podcast today. It was great.
Likewise. Thank you, sis.
I just love how you just brought everything together, knowing that all these things are inside of us, and we're here to just get them pulled out of us and to easily be ourselves, to do it simply, live simply, live easily, live audaciously, do us, be remarkable. And I love that. I appreciate you being here. What would you like to let the listeners know about any resources or information that you have that's going on with you? We want to know. We want to be a part of it. Let's hear it.
Well, I'm currently the director of presentation for a non-for-profit. It's called Gentlemen and Scholars Incorporated. We're a mentorship group. Our mission is to empower the youth with the skills necessary to become better versions of themselves, and we do it in various ways. We're known for putting on citywide spelling bees and different academic events of that nature. And we do a school of etiquette and life skills classes, just try to help them to understand the confidence that they need to become the best versions of themselves. So be on the lookout for our programming and our coaching programs, and be on the lookout for our school of etiquette and life skills classes that are around your area. Also, I would encourage everybody, because in my other occupation, I'm a health and nutrition coach, a boxing coach, and whether you come to my class or not, or whether you see my classes online or not, I would encourage you to, like I said, to love yourself enough to know that you're valuable, to live a great, healthy life. But once you figure out that you love yourself and you know that you're valuable, now it should be easy to make better decisions because you are what you eat and you got to love what you are. Just make better decisions and the information is out there. The information is out there on better decisions. So when I say you are what you eat, that's what you consume with the mouth. You are what you eat. That's what you consume through your eyes. The messages that you're watching, you are what you eat. That's what you consume with your ears. The things that you're listening to that help you become a better version of yourself. I mean, you hear, you might as well live good. You might as well live easy. You might as well live healthy. And you might as well live full.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, Cory. Is there any links or how they find you on Facebook or how they find you on the internet? Is there some,
Facebook is usually how we move. You can find me at Cory Brazier. Just look up Cory Brazier Facebook. You see
scholars
and Gentlemen and Scholars 501c3 incorporated. So fairly easy to find. You know what I'm saying? And if you Google us, there's all types of articles and news interviews that you'll learn a little bit more about our program and our movement. So thank you, Marcy Brazier.
Thank you.
Oh no, Marcy Grayson. Yes, Marcy Grayson.
All right.
All my sisters is Braziers, all my brothers is Braziers. My little sister, Marcy Grayson, I appreciate you. I love what you're doing, and I encourage you to keep on doing your thing. Okay.
Thank you so much. I love your message of self-love and being able to know who you are and living that truth and living that place of fun and easiness. I love easiness, man. Yes.
My favorite word is effortlessness.
Effortlessness. Oh, I love that. Thank you
word.
So much. This has been the effortlessly.
Gotta say it though, you know what I'm saying? Effortless. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. I love you. We're going to have you come out again if that's possible.
Definitely.
We'll do that. All right.
I'll bring my partners with me next time.
All right. That'll be cool. All right. Thank you so much. If you're listening, you know how to get with him. Cory Brazier, Gentlemen and Scholars. We're going to look you up. We're going to support. So, all right, everybody. Thank you so much. You have a blessed day.
All right. Be cool.
Hey, I really enjoyed today's episode. And if you did too and know somebody that would benefit from listening to this podcast, please share. I love connecting with new people. And remember to choose your true you. Start living from your wholeness because you're the key to the life you really want. This is the Finally Be podcast. Blessings of light, love, and effortless joy. See you next time.